everybody. That ain't right. Woo! Hey, everybody.
Oh, the things we talk about backstage.
I'm Nakia Franklin.
Hi, I'm Vawn Gretta.
And welcome to this episode of The Real
and Raw Talk Show,
where there are no boundaries
and no judgments, y'all.
Okay, y'all. Hey, family. We are only a real and raw entity, right? So, of course, as you can see, we're back and we want to keep the momentum going in 2022 as we are joined by the current City of Houston Council member, Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shebazz. Make sure I get that right, of District D. An interesting fact about this is that she was elected in December 2019. I can't even think, y'all, and won against rap icon Brad Scarface Jordan. For those who may or may not be kind of seasoned like us, you should know who that is. So, this is a big deal. And her current term is scheduled to end in 2024. Now, she is a native Houstonian, raised in 3rd Ward, Texas, graduated from Jack Yates High School, Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and Texas Southern University in Houston, Texas. She was a career teacher and led evaluation and a lead evaluation specialist before retiring from HISD in 2009. Now, she is what we call a true legacy when you learn about her family legacy that shows how she has gracefully followed the footsteps of those before her and made room for people after, right? So Councilwoman Evans-Shabazz is an executive committee member of the NAACP Houston branch and is the chairwoman of the Education Committee and brings results concerning equality for all people. As the Houston Community College trustee who serves District 4 as the first African American female chairwoman of the board for 2 consecutive years, she works tirelessly to ensure communities are safe, receiving necessary tools and resources, and continues to grow and obtain gainful employment while reducing crime, fighting against illegal dumping, and engaging the educational process of the district's children for growth, prosperity, and longevity. The councilwoman is very involved in programs to aid senior citizens and in providing second chance opportunities for those who have felony convictions. Now, her mantra is, if I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then my living will not be in vain. And she believes public service is her calling.
Right.
So she's living out her calling, right? Aside from her professional life, she has been a realtor for over 30 years and is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. Now, our intentions for this episode is to acknowledge a trailblazer such as Councilwoman Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shebazz, who has paved the way for African American women to not only be in the educational system, but the political system, governmental systems, and civil systems that create opportunities for all people to be treated equally, given a voice, and an opportunity to have access to those things that are not always afforded to African American communities, especially for those of us who are women. So grab your favorite beverage. I got my lemonade, pen and paper, and let's get into action. Let's get into this conversation.
Okay, this is going to be exciting, right? Last year we had a Black History celebration online, and this year we're celebrating the lives of Black history right here in Houston, Texas.
Absolutely.
Off to the races, right? With the mighty, and I mean that, Dr. Evans-Shabazz. Okay, so look, you guys, here's the cool thing. This is my side of the territory. We have none other than Houston's own Kei Knowtz on the show tonight. He's going to be sharing his unique versions of music. He is such a stellar human being. Oh man, I had the pleasure of meeting him, but I'll tell you about that later. Several years ago, and then we've kept in touch. So recently, we had an opportunity, Nakia and I, to go out and support him during one of his live performances in Houston, Texas, and it was so impressive. He's just filled with so much artistry. He looks like the artist when you walk into the building, girl. No doubt about it.
Right.
Am I right?
He lives
and right, and he's so stylish. He has such an impressive way of dealing with. You can tell he just has a great heart, and those people don't come along often. So we're so proud of him, and we had a good time. So he will share a video, and he'll tell you about his own video later on in the show, in this episode. So now it's time. I don't know why I started off with a karate show. Okay, now it's time for us to get real and raw. Okay, and so we want to hear from you, and so does our guest. So please take a few minutes to go to www.streamyard.com/Facebook. If you're watching via Facebook, we know LinkedIn watchers are around, and also YouTube. So, and thank you for joining us. But you need to do that so that we can see your comments, and then our guests can see them, and then we can engage, because we really want you guys to engage in the conversation, because it's about you too, right? Okay, so you need to stick around. Right now, you have the perfect time during the song to start inviting people, texting them, messaging them, go outside on your balcony and scream, "Hey! The Really Right Show is coming out!"
All right. Why am I muted? Okay.
It'll be a good show then.
That is not how we roll. So anyhow, welcome to episode 28. And we're going to immediately bring on stage Councilwoman Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz of Houston, Texas, District D. Can you bring her on in the room? Hello.
Well, hello there. How are you all doing this evening? I don't know if we've talked, but Happy New Year, right?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You know what? Happy Black History Month. This is amazing because it's such an honor to have you here on the platform, especially at this time and starting February off in a spectacular way to talk about the things that we're going to talk about on this evening. And
Right. And she comes from such a legacy of serving the people and caring about somebody other than yourself. I love your family history, and I'm not gonna spoil it. I promise. Nakia's like, don't. She better not say it. But she better not say it. But I'm not. But that's what I really value so much about you outside of your public service. But that is so nice to carry it on and carry it higher. Can't
so
be.
I was trying to, I don't know, I don't consider myself to be all that technologically savvy. I was trying to share the link on my Facebook page, but so far it hasn't come up. So I could be all on the going in the wrong direction, and just depend on you ladies to put it out there. So thank you so very much for that wonderful introduction. And I am very glad to be here. And I'm very excited and very humbled and glad to be the council member for District D, what I call the District of Destination. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation tonight.
awesome. Thank you so very much. So we're going to jump right into who you are and have a conversation that allows our audience to identify with you as being a human being, because people see, politics and acknowledge you for your public service, but before they can acknowledge you for that, we like to allow people to acknowledge you for who you are as a human being first, right? So you can be related to by other people. People can see themselves within you, right? So then we're going to dive into you as a woman that we identify you as a trailblazer in leadership. So it is extremely important for women and all females to see themselves as leaders and to give hope from local views as well as national and worldly views. It's important to be able to touch someone, hear someone, and listen to someone who looks like you in the mirror, someone that you may even know or have heard of. But now, because most of the time everything is on this huge platform, this we love Oprah type of platform, right? But this gives those listeners and those viewers that doesn't necessarily have that much access and ability to connect, to be able to really see themselves and engage with someone who is just like them and doing a doggone thing. So if you don't mind, we've already shared so much about you, but if you would like to share a bit about yourself, and a fun fact that people would never assume that would be something of your character. Uh-oh, I can't hear. Can you hear me, Vawn?
That was hilarious. That was funny for Ben. She's not on mute, so that's not funny though.
So can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't hear council member.
No, we can't hear you, and it doesn't show mute. We heard you a moment ago.
Mm-hmm. You can go out and come back in if you want. Try that. Yeah. Did you just say you think you'll try to cut it off and cut it back on and come back in?
Just step out of, just leave the studio and then hit the link to come back in. I hope she heard that last part. This is what happens, y'all. This is what happened. We apologize, but
it won't happen when we are on TV. I mean, it could happen in somebody's home, but it won't happen on our end.
Hey, I had a breakdown for like a month.
Your whole computer system was like, right. You haven't been loving me, and acted a fool like a jealous lover.
And I was ready to throw it out the window. And I
know you was. And then you had to get on your phone. And then mine tonight was out. It's the weather. The technology is just doesn't have a cuddle buddy or something. I don't know.
it's a oh, not a cuddle buddy. It's always a challenge. So, with that being said, because I had
He's
to, yeah,
back.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I forgot what I was supposed to be doing. Oh, anyway, thank you again. And when you say that people want to know if you're real people, they would have known. I had to cut my camera off because we talked before, and you were telling me how hot it was in your room, and all of a sudden I got hot, right? So I said, let me take off some of this. I didn't take off a lot now, nothing you could see, but I was like, oh, it's kind of hot for a conversation for an hour, but I'm fine now. But anyway, I
We keep our fans too,
yeah,
council
I'm
member.
telling you. Well, I
We
have
ready.
something, right? Right. Anyway, I am Carolyn Evans-Shebazz, again, the council member for District D, what I call the District of Destination. And I am a native Houstonian. I have lived in Third Ward, Texas, all my life. Went to Jack Yates High School, and of course, I bleed crimson and gold, as they say. And then I did go on to Spelman College, and I graduated from Spelman. I graduated in 3.5 years, which, was, I guess, somewhat of a feat because I transferred some credits from Texas Southern in the summer and all of that, and University of Houston. And normally you lose a lot when you do those kinds of things, but it worked
mhm.
out. And then right after graduation, and I don't know if I shared that with you all, but I became a travel agent. I was a reservations agent actually with Eastern Airlines.
Oh wow,
And I was so excited about that. And but then Eastern moved, I moved to Houston, back to Houston rather. And then Eastern decided to close. And I'm like, whoa, there goes my travel benefit.
wow,
And then I ended up working as a travel agent for, I guess, about 10 years. But in the meantime, I decided I was going to go get my teacher certificate and all of that, which I never thought I would be a teacher. Both of my parents were teachers. My father was a basketball coach at Jack Yates High School with the Mighty Lions, and my mother was a elementary school first grade teacher. And so I never thought that I would be a teacher, but I decided that even though I love the travel industry, they really didn't pay much. And so I decided that I would go to be a teacher as if they paid more, right?
right.
But I did that and I loved it. I worked in Fifth Ward actually at Fleming Middle School, and I was a reading, writing, computer literacy teacher. And
Wow.
I was the student council sponsor and loved the kids. All of these social activities that they participated in, I sponsored and
Wow.
was able to donate some things to the athletic department and all that. But we were a wonderful family. And then I decided that I wanted to changed somewhat of my career path. And that's when I went to Texas Southern and got my master's. And I got that in psychology. And then I became what they call a diagnostician in some school districts, and others
Mhm,
call them evaluation specialists. I
mhm.
actually tested special ed children where I helped them to be able to uh, be successful in terms of identifying their best modality for learning and giving
Mm,
them modifications and things that they needed, and actually help them to graduate from high school, which sometimes is a feat, especially with all the tests they have. That time I think it was the TAS or the TOS. It was the TOS
yes.
and all of those things, and now it's the STAR. But at any rate, I was able to help them to do that, and then I decided I was going to go and get a doctorate. And I did that again at Texas Southern. And I got a what they call an EDD. You have a PhD, EDD. There depends on the field that you're in. And
Uh-huh.
so I enjoyed doing that. And then again, I worked in the South District for many years, which is Worthing, Woodson, Addix, Carnegie, those schools when Carnegie was in uh, the same district, which gave me a real perspective on a lot of my constituents in District D,
Mhm.
because those schools are in Sunnyside, Sunnyside, South Park, some of the schools where children have grown into adulthood now.
Mhm.
And so I have a real clear understanding of the people that live in
Wow.
that area.
That's
And
important.
again, being a third ward native, of course, I'm very familiar with my own surroundings. I live not very far from the CUNY homes. And, you just have so many different areas of District D, from Sagemont, South Park, Sunnyside, South Union, Third Ward, and the Museum District. And so we have a lot of territory, about 200,000 constituents in
Wow.
that particular area. And then they all have unique problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to always be solution oriented in regards to trying to help, each community to be able to acquire and the needs that they have. And so again, I'm very honored and humbled, and I do believe that I'm walking in my calling. I really really love what I do. I consider myself to be a vessel, and hopefully I'm a worthy vessel because
Mm.
I really like the idea. Somebody posted something about running because you want power. The only power I want is that which empowers other
Mm.
people. And so
Absolutely.
that's how I really try to walk in my role. Very few people can say that they have presented me with a problem and I didn't come up with a solution. And if I did not come up with a solution, you can best believe that I have not forgotten. And at some point, as God works, He will bring me a solution that I can take back to the people who inquired about or told me what they needed. And so, again, I really, really enjoy what I'm doing. And I'm ready for any questions, comments.
Okay. I'm
I do come from
I,
a family. Let me say, I have well, both my parents, I said, were educators. And then I have an older brother. I have two younger sisters. And in 2020, unfortunately, I lost my youngest brother, who was the life of the party. He was the mayor of Third Ward, actually, because he had
oh, wow.
personality plus. And so my younger brother, Mark, we have a hole in my family, but
Yeah.
we have so many wonderful and fond memories of interactions with him. And trust me, there were many, many, many times that we really had some awesome family engagements. And a lot of people know him and love him, and they call him Baby Love. Let me just and then I'll move
Oh.
on. Okay, and in fact, one of his classmates, and I'm going to share this, and then we can move on. One of his classmates, they just love Mark, right?
Mhm.
And she reached out about a couple of weeks ago, and she actually did some shirts
Oh,
and some
good.
t-shirts, and she brought all of us t-shirts that say "Baby Love," right? And so we're going to do
Aw.
a balloon release and all of that because it was right at the beginning of COVID, and were not able to have a service actually, other
Yeah.
than a graveside service. And so we're going to do a balloon release in his honor. 2 years actually from when he died. But
Oh.
anyway, on a brighter note, let's talk about what's going on in District D.
All right. Well, thank you so very much for that huge introduction and sharing and transparency of who you are. And I just want to not step over, but make note of the fact that is why it is so important for those that represent us or familiar with our communities and our environments, and for yourself, with you having grown up in District D in Third Ward, not only growing up, and having your family unit there, but you stayed there. You traveled out and you came back, but you stayed there and you made an impact within the school districts and with the youth and with the community. And now these young children are more than likely adults, or have children of their own. So, being relatable and being engaging and being able to fully understand the dynamic within a community that you represent is powerful. You can't get any better than that, because a lot of times people move in and just all of a sudden they want to be your representative, but they have no relationship. And without that relationship, what can you do for me? Now you're having to constantly convince me over and over again of what your capacity is. Well, I don't know you. How can I trust you? How can I depend on the fact that you're sincerely, genuinely, and authentically there for me? No, that's too much work. So let's see, who else I can look at. So thank you so very much for being that type of representative. I I had the pleasure of being at some events in which you were present, and then one at the Southeast substation police department.
South Central.
South Central, thank you.
Uh-huh.
South Central Police Department, the community event that night, and it was great. You know, I saw you engaging with the community members. They know you. You were addressing the specific concerns. You know where these people live. You know them by name, and that in itself spoke volumes to me. And I totally appreciate you being that type of individual because I've seen you live it out. So it's not something you're just talking about. I've witnessed it. So that makes a huge difference for me. So and that's one of the reasons why we look at you as a trailblazer and as a leader, and we have you on this platform because you are that type of woman. So what I want to ask you now is, what challenge in your life, give me one challenge that you faced, whether in your adulthood or growing up, this is Black History Month, that gave you a moment in which you wanted to stop, pushing towards your goal, or it was such a challenge, and you were able to overcome that experience.
Well, actually, and I left a part out. I really am in almost the same location where I was raised. I'm backyard to backyard to the house I was raised in, and I live across the street from my elementary school. And so I'm really, really ingrained in this community. I don't know, a lot of times I don't look at challenges in terms of something that I need to dwell on. And I probably the biggest challenge is the one I've already shared was dealing with the death of my brother. A lot of people don't realize that when I was campaigning, actually, after every engagement, I was going to visit my brother in the hospital. And I don't mean where I drove up, I caught the bus, I caught the train, you know, because I think that you need to do these things. You need to let people know that you are real enough to do the things that some of them have to do. And I
Right.
would always say, I'm very blessed. I said, because I can drive my car to the bus stop, get on the bus, drive my car to the train station, and get on the train. But some people don't have that. Some people actually have to walk to these certain ways of getting around transportation vehicles. So it gave me a real appreciation. Sometimes you wonder why things happen, but before then, I had caught the bus surely as a kid, but as an adult, it wasn't something that I would normally do. And so that I would think that was probably one of the biggest challenges in my life. And you just have to really sit down and catch your breath after losing a loved one that had, a great impact on your life. But another thing now, with this pandemic, I can even relate to so many people who have lost loved ones. Now, he didn't die of COVID, but death is death. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
But certainly, because we've had so many people to die of COVID, it gives you a personal relationship with death. Both
Hmm.
of my parents, of course, they passed many, many years ago. Uh, but I think it's something about someone that's very close in your age, a sibling,
Yeah.
that impacts you differently. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because especially one that he was much younger than me actually, but something that was totally unexpected. But it gives you an idea of what other people are dealing with, and then you see some of these senseless murders and all the things that people are just life is filled with swift transition, and so it
Absolutely.
gives you a real understanding and a real compassion and empathy for people who are facing these challenges. And so I think that's mostly what I can share because I don't let a lot of things bother me in terms of challenges. I just think that they're an opportunity. They're not really challenges. They're opportunities. And
Hmm.
sometimes I step back and realize that the opportunity is God's opportunity for
Yeah.
Him to show Himself, and that I can't solve every problem, and so I have to
Right.
trust Him to get me through it. And I usually keep a pretty even temper and
Mhm.
temperament. And I'm normally very positive and very happy, and sometimes, as we know, some people, just as the young lady who recently committed suicide, I think she kept up a facade. So we have to really, really understand that people are carrying a lot of things that we have no clue about. And so we really need to learn to embrace each other where we are and not just assume that people are a certain way because they have that certain persona.
You know
Mm.
what? That is a perfect segue and statement that you just made, because I was going to actually ask you about that because of her recent decision to commit suicide, and the challenges that so many people are having with mental health, knowingly and unknowingly, and like you said, to be able to walk around with this mask on. Ultimately, the world believes you have it all together. Your life is perfect, you're beautiful, you this, you that. And death comes, unexpectedly for a lot of people, but for other people it's a clear choice for whatever the that is within them, that is telling them that this is the only way out. Um and and we plead with so many people to seek help, to just get another opinion outside of your own opinion, and don't be afraid to speak to someone, because someone can give you the reason that you needed to hear, to let you know why it is so important for you to remain amongst the living. So thank you so very much for sharing that. Thank you so very much for being here. And I have one question, and then we're going to transition over to Von Greta. And is this simply, what age did you truly know that you wanted to be in leadership? What age?
That's really kind of hard to say because even if you're not in public service, you are a leader. When I stood in front of that classroom to teach those children, I was a leader.
Mm,
And at that point, I needed to be a role model
mm,
for my students. And so, people equate leadership with being a mayor, a city councilman, a trustee, or whatever. And that's not, so many people, that's just a small microcosm of leadership. Leadership are those people that stand in front of you and raise you. The people who
Hmm.
make sure that you have food and have clothing and can do
Mm.
the things that you need to do in life. Those are the true blue leaders. And so it's really kind of hard to put a time or an age on when that happened because I mean, even in high school, I was in leadership positions. I was a cheerleader, so I
mhm.
was leading the squad, right? Kicking my legs and leading the cheers. So I've always been in some kind of capacity of some type of leadership. But I just don't want people to think that if you're not an elected official, that you are not a
Right.
real important leader because you
Hmm.
Absolutely.
really, really affect, the closer you are to the children and the family, the more important you are as a leader. And
Awesome.
so, it's just really kind of hard to say, um, you
Well, thank
know,
you.
when
No,
I
that is
decided I was going to
And
be
you
a
have
leader.
such an
no, that
educator's
is
heart, like the things you're saying is such the educator's heart, the care about the children, because when you care at that point, you produce the person that goes into the world, so you reproduce that heart and ideology, and it just works for community.
Well,
absolutely.
and let me tell you, I have students that, especially with Facebook now, I have
Hmm.
students that have looked me up and they have talked about the impact that I had on their lives and how they really love me and they put me as a role model, or they have asked me to come and speak at some
Mm,
of their events. And so I said, oh, okay, well, somebody did know or realize, that my heart was there for them because I think that's so important because people know when you're faking it, right?
yes,
And
Right.
ma'am.
so I think that people know that I genuinely love and care about people, and it's not just children, but of course, you do need to care for those that are more vulnerable, like our seniors and our children and whatever. And so it's very, very important. And so
Mhm.
Just being able to impact somebody's life in a positive way. As I said, if I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then my living shall not be in vain. And I truly live by that because it's very important for me in the position that I'm in to find resources for people. I like to be a resource for
Mhm.
people. It, the worst feeling for me is when someone reaches out and they need some help and I have no clue
Mm.
about how to get them that help. And so, and getting back to the mental health piece, we really have to know that our mental health is so important. It's not just about whether your heart is beating and whether your blood pressure is low. It's about that mental state that you're in, which governs all of that. Because at some point, if you don't take care of your mental health, then all of those physiological things can get worse for
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
because are so your mental health is not good. And so we're a whole package.
Right.
We're not just, it's just like in the Bible, the arms, the legs, or whatever, what is your
Mhm.
function,
Mhm.
but we are a total package and we have to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you so very much, Councilwoman. We're going to transition over to Von Gretta and bring in, are you doing keynotes?
I'm actually going to give you guys a few minutes to check out our sponsors. New Home Program stays with us and supports the Real and Raw Talk Show. So you guys take a listen. Now, I know, just real quick, I have known them for a very long time, and they're so awesome. They even have like a prayer room in their offices. So they really take what they do seriously. And you guys have something in common because they are definitely a real estate company. You guys take a listen.
Homeprograms.com is a real estate company that provides 11 unique programs for buyers and sellers of all kinds.
We have a solution for all the problems that people face when buying or selling real estate.
I think it just makes the process easier knowing that you have people that are specialized in the programs and you don't have to do it yourself.
Most programs can be combined, but it's based on qualifying factors.
We found out that they have programs that help with down payments, that help with closing costs, and all the different things that we knew would be difficult for us.
Our first realtor, we never met. There was a lot of unanswered questions. The deal fell through. So we reached out to them, and within 2 weeks we were back at closing because everything was already still checked off. They informed us on programs like the NCC rate and told us that it was a $2,000 tax credit, and just informed us on opportunities that we could take advantage of that had not we chose to go through them, we would have never known about.
I feel safe. I love the neighborhood. I feel like it was a great fit for our family.
I like the idea of having our own place and being able to do whatever we want with it, where you're very limited with an apartment.
We will guide you through the entire process because we are realtors and we will find that home for you.
Contact us today for a free, confidential consultation so that we can listen to what you have to say.
What is it?
A New Home Program.
Technically.
You gonna be all right?
Who, me?
No, Nakia.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
You pulled it together. New Home Program, everybody connect and check. And don't think for 1 minute you cannot own a home. So let's get on right into it. Council member. I know that we had the first time I met you was at my uncle's reenactment march. I don't know if they were doing. I asked my dad, and he didn't have the answer yet. But that was that 2 years ago already? No, that was last year, right? And you for L. Drury Stearns that we met at the TSU, and we walked from there to the post office, which was the old wine gardens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in that group with you. That's where I met Carolita. Well, Commander Johnson.
Commander Johnson. Okay.
Because we were walking side by side. But so I have seen her in action, everybody, with my own eyes, taking care of business. And I just want to know, I mean, being a woman in business, from education now to politics, I'm sure it can get challenging sometimes, especially as a woman who's rising in leadership. As a woman, what do you think about, especially as a Black woman, African American, how difficult was it for you to accept the changes and things that you saw to assimilate to be able to become or overcome, both overcome and assimilate, to be able to be successful in what you do?
Well, I think the fact that what I have done in life, I have just built upon it. In other
Mhm.
words, I was a teacher, and I tell people, oh, I'm a retired teacher, but it's really no such thing. You continue to teach in some
That's
manner.
true.
And so, you have to just build on what you have. You can't just,
Mhm.
draw a line and say, I'm going to throw that part of my life out. All of that experience is gone, and it was for naught. Everything that you do is a stepping stone to get to where you need to be. And so I certainly I use my education background all the time. Even if it's in real estate, sometimes I have to teach my clients, how to go about getting to closing and how to
Mhm.
weigh their budgets to determine if this is a good move for you right now, or things that they need to do. It's constant. I'm constantly teaching one way or the
That's
other.
smart.
And so I'm just building on the experiences that I have brought with me. With the city, I'm on the childhood committee. Where we
Mhm.
talk about how to. And I think we have a meeting this week where we're going to talk about child care, because that
Okay.
cost has become phenomenal for parents, and some of them have had to quit their jobs because childcare was so
It is
expensive
pricey.
that it just
Yep.
wasn't feasible to keep a job outside of the home. And so um, I just decided, I just built on it. And then when I went from working in the school district, of course, then I became the education chair at the NAACP. And and
Okay.
just as a point of correction, I'm not the education chair anymore. I stepped down because I felt like I was trying to wear too many hats.
I
Okay.
see.
And so I turned it over to somebody who I thought, well, I didn't turn it over to them, but I turned it over. And the person that currently has it, they're a former educator as well. And so they have moved on to do a phenomenal job. And so I did that. And then I decided, I became a trustee at the Houston Community College. Here again, here's education, right? And so we're
Right.
making decisions at that point to help people to uh, become gainfully employed, which is of vital importance to me. And certainly, we meaning District D, we actually are going to have a job fair and an engagement to help people to become gainfully employed. Because I think that getting training and those things, they make a big difference in your family, so that you can make more than $7.25
You're
an
right
hour,
about it.
because
You're right
all of
about it.
that impacts everything. Because if you are only making minimum wage, and 9 times out of 10, and you have a family, you have to work more than one job, two, maybe three
Absolutely.
jobs, which again means that you can't engage with your children at
Right.
school because you are trying to work all of these jobs to keep food on the table and the roof over their head. And
And
so
then
the
it just becomes this
objective
thing
for
that's
me,
kind of, it's kind of, and I'm sorry to cut you off. It's kind of it's oppressive in its own sense when you have to feed them, but you can't see them, and
yeah, well,
then there's
we know that
behavioral
it's
issues that
key.
could come up.
Yeah, we know it's the success of our children depends a great deal on parental engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And for the parent to be able to visit the school, whether you're a discipline problem or whether you're doing really well, whatever. This engagement of the parent it makes a key difference, and sometimes it cuts down on the behavior problems because they know that their mom or their dad may come at any point and check on them. But if you're working these 2 or 3 jobs, so see, in my case, my parents were educators, right? And so, and they
And
had
did
so
we
many
talk about your
educators.
grandfather? Did
Well,
we
no,
mention
we
your
didn't.
grandfather?
Well, okay,
Okay.
my grandfather was the first president of Prairie View A&M University, Dr. E.B. Evans. And well, funny to before going back, he was also the first licensed African American veterinarian in the state of Texas. And then he went on to become the president of Prairie View, and he has a lot of accolades. My sister posted on Facebook for the first day of Black History. He founded Alpha chapters and the SWAC, and he did a lot. So see, I have some big feet, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm just really glad that I can try to help for my small part to change the world, right? But I can't do some of the things in all likelihood that he did, because it was a different time, okay? But he accomplished a great deal, and I'm very, very proud of him. And again, both my parents being educators. But my point is that every school that I attended, there was a relative, okay? So somebody was always in my mix, to check on me to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do. You know what I'm saying? But that is so key. And so getting back to my whole point, helping people to become gainfully employed, to get skills. It's not about whether you have a doctorate or a master's, because to be honest with you, people who get vocational trades and certificates, they really generally make more money than the people in academia. And so I push vocational all the time. And that too was building on another educational perspective, to move from actually an academic perspective to appreciating and pushing vocational education, so that people, and then when I have the opportunity, I always say this, I try to encourage parents to never tell their children, and teachers, never tell children that they're not college material.
Right.
And college to me is anything past high school where you're able to get something to where you're gainfully employed. And when you tell people they are not good enough, so to speak, then you have deflated them. And you have put them in a whole nother mindset that they may decide they don't even want to try.
Right.
Because you, being a person of great influence in their lives, be a teacher, parent, whatever, already told them by saying that they're not college material, that they aren't good enough. And so,
Dr. Council member. So we heard you talk about these different hats you wear, but we know that the foundation of that hat is education and the love for people, because we keep hearing that come up, and it is, you can see the timeline and how it connects. But for you, do you have, I call it my village, that these very few people I can grab, and they can tell me certain things that can keep me going when it gets tough for you, because it can get a little heavy when you care about people so much. Do you have a support system like that you can call on to help you?
And I didn't mention one of the most important people in my life, and that's my husband. I do have a very supportive husband. He's one of the main people. He goes out and tells people about his wife, so that they'll know that I'm working, and they can reach out to me. And sometimes he'll say, can you call so-and-so, they need such and such. And so anyway, he's a great support system for me. And then I have sisters who I talk to on a daily basis. One just called while we were on this program, but we talk almost every day. We get on the three-way. I have one that lives in Nebraska and one that lives not very far from me. And so we talk pretty regularly. And then I have my older brother, who actually is my campaign treasurer, right? So I'm real covered in terms of a support system. And we're there for each other. And that's very important. Then, of course, I have some close friends, and a lot of my close friends are friends that I've had since childhood. And so, some of them, I have some newer friends, but I still have the friends that I used to run around and play in the dirt with as well. And
what? You're looking at mine. You're looking at one of mine.
Really?
Yeah. We're only 3 days apart. And our parents knew each other. So we have always been a part of each other's lives. Our mothers were pregnant at the same time, obviously, hanging out with one another at the old, barbecue and throw whatever you got on the pit in the house and, and figure out a good time,
What I didn't mention, I'm sorry, was that I went to TSU nursery school, right?
That's
I always tell people that I'm one of the few people that you may know that went to TSU nursery school and then got a terminal degree from Texas Southern University. But I'm saying that because some of my current friends are people that went to TSU nursery school with me.
Wow.
And so,
what a history.
It doesn't get any better than that. I got, friends.
It doesn't.
My high school friends, I'm very engaged with my high school reunion classes. And in fact, we have a Jack Gates Founders Day event tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
That I'm looking forward to. So I'm very, very close with my schoolmates and classmates too.
Oh, wow.
We're all excited to our audience because you're hearing a lot of history, like Houston history that you may not know about. Texas Southern, that nursing school that's still there. It's expanded. It's beautiful. My baby went there while I was at school there. And it's just really wonderful. You're so inspiring to so many people, especially being an educator. Now, who inspired you?
Well,
do you have any?
I'm going to say one of the people that really inspired me, besides my parents and grandparents or whatever, I have a one grandmother in particular who worked in River Oaks as a domestic. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay, so River Oaks is very, very, very highfalutin, high class, very ritzy area.
She worked in the kitchen,
just to let y'all know who's watching. It's not from Houston.
To be one of the smartest women that I know. I mean, she's deceased now, but my grandmother and grandfather, actually, on my mother's side, they didn't have a lot of education, but my grandmother could manage. My grandfather owned his own business. He had a trucking business, and she took his money and managed it. And then they became really millionaires.
Wow.
Which was unheard of, right? Of course, she spent it all at some point on one of us, one way or the other. But she would probably be my biggest inspiration. Just somebody that was down to earth, that took what they had and was able to do well and to embrace and take care of their families. And so, that she would, if I would say, it would be Emma Lee James, my grandmother.
Lee James. Come on, Miss.
She lived in the West, what they call the West End now. Not far from River Oaks, but if I had to think or speak of a role model, it would have been my grandmother.
That's beautiful.
That is so beautiful. I can relate to that story. I'll tell you later because for time, but thank you so much for being so transparent in that. I too am very influenced by my grandmother and how she handled my grandfather. They didn't get to be millionaires, but I love the dynamic between the two.
They purchased a lot of property. They just really did well, especially for the times, right? As I said, my grandfather had his own business, and he really gave my brother and my cousins opportunities to work with him. Now, of course, the work was a little hard, so they decided they better go and do something else. So that everything happens for a reason, right?
Right. No, really.
You work in a position and you say, "Oh no, I don't want to."
No. I'm gonna go do what you told me I should do.
Things that you need to do to get
right on with it. Thank you so much, Council Member. I sure appreciate that. When we come back from this musical break, you'll hear more from Council Member and we'll hear our final thoughts. But right now, we have some really hype youngsters that are all over YouTube. They are waiting for Kei Knowtz. So Kei Knowtz, which I think is the cutest stage name, right? Kei. He always signs things with a little key and the music notes. So I just think that is just so clever. But anyway, I met him because he opened for me once with my band, and the ladies were singing. I think that was in 2007. Yeah, 2017, right before Harvey. And I watched him and I said, that looks like a young Bobby Brown. I mean, he was so handsome and energetic, and he could sing. So without further ado, I'm going to play this. When I come back, this is going to be in your capable hands. Got about 5 minutes, you guys. Y'all blow it up on this internet for this young man. He's amazing. Kei Knowtz.
What's good, my real and raw family? I'm Kei Knowtz, singer-songwriter from Houston, Texas, H-Time, and you're about to watch the official music video to my newest single, Fool For You. I actually wrote this song with wedding vows in mind, so I hope it blesses you. If you would like to hear more of my music, you can follow me on Instagram at KeiKnowtz, KeiKnowtz. Rolls off your tongue. Thank you again for this opportunity and the moment you've all been waiting for. Fool For You.
Oh yeah. Your soul is like a diamond. It shines so bright through you. Something about the diamond, it led me right to you. And every single second's like a dose of heaven. Whenever I'm with you, every other step I take is like I'm falling into you. Every time I look at you, I get thrown in circles. I'm dizzy. You're moving like a gust of wind, and then you blew me away. I put that out on the spotlight. I put that out on my heart like I want you now for my whole life. I love you, I love you, I love you, love you. I put that out on the line like the sun that be shining the moonlight. Connected to stars through my galaxies. Above you, above you, I love you, I love you. You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. I never thought a diamond would become a sign that I love you. I never thought that you would make me a fool for you. I never thought a diamond would become a sign that I love you. I never thought that you would make me a fool for you. I'm your rock, you're my stone. Not breaking up, not breaking up, not breaking up, not breaking up, not. If I ever dream of you, not waking up, not waking up, not waking up, not waking up, not. I put that out on the spotlight. I put that out on my heart like I want you now for my whole life. I love you, I love you, I love you, love you. I put that out on the line like the sun that be shining the moonlight. Connected to stars through my galaxy. Above you, above you, I love you, I love you. You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. I never thought a diamond would become a sign that I love you. I never thought that you would make me a fool for you.
Right?
That was
Kei
phenomenal.
Knowtz. That was
Right.
amazing.
Is that young man not the bomb? And he put it together himself, all of it. I love when I see young people flossing and just going for it, whatever it is. Oh, I love it. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna say that for the after the party show.
Okay, because I keep trying to say Kei, and she's still talking Kei, since we got to go. Kei Knowtz, that was absolutely amazing, and I'm so looking forward to being out to support you further at other performances and environments where you can really, really, really shine. And I just know that God has some stuff waiting and available for you, and you are being discovered each and every moment that you present yourself out to the world. And thank you for sharing this on our platform. So, Councilwoman, we are in our final thoughts, and we have about 3 minutes. And my question to you is, if you could speak to your novice self and give yourself some advice, looking hindsight 2020, what would you say?
You see, if I could give myself
if you can speak to your younger self, thinking hindsight 2020,
yes,
what would you say to yourself? What advice?
I think that I would have become more politically active earlier in life. Because I do see the value in public service. You know, I always tell younger people how much respect I have for them, that they are politically engaged. You know, when I was growing up, of course, you know, I was very excited about getting my voter's registration and voting. And I probably voted in every election that I can think of when I was in Houston or the Houston area. But I always tell people if I had become engaged earlier, I would probably be the first president of the United States, right? that's really high achievement.
All right.
Right?
Yeah.
But I want them to see their potential, their potential by being engaged earlier. That there is no limit to what they can do. You know, maybe, you know, and I'm being a little, maybe that's a little, you know, what do you call the word? Ambitious, right? But I do see so much potential in a lot of the young people that I'm engaged with in the political arena. And they are so phenomenal and just so caring and engaged in the activities that they do, that I know that they are really going to make a difference. So if I were to give myself advice, you know, back at when I was their age, I would have become more politically active then.
Awesome. Thank you so very much for sharing that. So, sis, any final thoughts from you? It is.
I just want to say no dream is. I want to say you too can achieve. I was going to say no dream is impossible, but I don't have time to balance that for the wrong thinkers.
You can balance it later.
I'm not going to do anything but encourage you all to check us out in the after the show party with the comedian Slappy Payne at 10:15 tonight, so you can hear more from us.
Right, and you'll just refresh your feed.
There you go.
And then you can explain it later. So, so I just want to say thank you so very much, Councilwoman Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shebazz, for being here, for giving us the opportunity to engage with you on this episode. There is so much information that you have brought forth. This is a clear conversation that is truly representative of Martin Luther King and the efforts that he put forth. It is representative of so many political figures and so many just everyday people who have fought for our freedom, fought for our rights, those that lived and suffered and went through and sacrificed before us in order to get us to this very moment, this opportunity that even Vawn and I have to be engaging with you on this platform, because there's not a lot of African American platforms that really bring forth conversation and content that makes a difference for the heart of the people and is engaging and is not necessarily politically correct, but is really raw and authentic and transparent. So thank you so very much for your willingness to share with people who you are, be a leader from a young age, and make a difference in so many lives of people. And we pray that what comes of this brings so much more opportunity and allow people to really know you for who you are beyond what they thought they knew, and be able to be supportive of what it is that you are trying to do in District D. And hopefully other districts would see what you are doing and what you have done, and be able to implement some of those things in their communities and try to make that much more of a difference, because each one teach one, each one makes a difference in every aspect of things. It's all about education. It's all about relationship. It's all about doing what we can at our level. So thank you so very much for joining us on the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Vawn Gretta. Thank you, audience. We are going to get out of here, and we're going to complete this level of the No Judgment Zone, where there were no boundaries, so we can go
and no judgments. But we had some history up on this thing, didn't we, y'all? You guys reach out and see what you can do to help a member in any of her endeavors, because there's always hands, right?
Before we leave, how can we reach you? How can the people reach you if they need to get in contact with your office or you?
Well, Facebook is, I think, District D. I'm sorry you asked me that, because it just really kind of escaped me. But you can certainly go online to the city website, and you can, find me there, and you can reach out to my office or, via email. And we really do appreciate volunteers that work with us, because we do have some things going on in the community. And I think it's District D Houston is how you reach me through Facebook and Twitter and those types of things. But certainly, I know unequivocally you can go on the website. And then, of course, my personal email, my city email rather, is Carolyn, Carolyn, .Evans, EV like Victor, ANS-Shabazz, SHABAZZ at HoustonTX.com, which is a .gov, which is a mouthful. But just Google and go on the City of Houston website and reach out. That would be greatly appreciated. And I'm the kind of person too. If you want to have a meeting, reach out to my office, and I will be glad to have a virtual meeting with you to see if there's something that we can engage in together to help us all to be better.
Absolutely. I always have a backup, sis. I always got to come with.
She does. She got things in her hands, the council member. She's got things. Okay, so let us bid her adieu. We have held her for an hour. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And
don't still awake even. She's still awake at 10 o'clock. How about that?
Right.
I don't go to bed early.
Thank you. And hang out so we can say bye-bye.
Councilwoman, just hang tight in the backdrop so we can speak to you right before you jump off.
I'll be right here.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Vawn Gretta. Remember to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today. A special thanks to our guests, sponsors, and audience members. We are grateful for your support of our programming. If you would like to be a guest or sponsor of one of our shows, please email us at info.realrawtalkshow@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. This has been a Wisdom Entertainment production in association with Social Integration. The views and opinions expressed on the show do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the Real and Raw Talk Show with Nakia Franklin and Vawn Gretta. Any content provided are opinions and do not intend to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. Stay connected and join us for our next conversation where there are no boundaries and no judgments.